Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me playing or talking about some board games, and today I'm going to be talking about River Valley Glassworks. I just did a playthrough of it and I was going to give a kind of a review of it and everything. It is a game that I enjoy quite a bit. You've probably seen me play a lot, so of course I have positive opinions about it. But before I get into the review, before I get into all that, let's go ahead and talk about some of the mechanics, how it works, so we can have some context. And let me go ahead and start our background music, because you know I love my background music, so there we go. All right. So as far as River Valley Glassworks, your goal is to essentially score points by filling out your grid, and every player is going to have the same grid but with different creatures here. So there's it's going to play up to 5 players, but we have 2 of the character boards here. It tells you the same information on both of them, but I just want you to see that there's different variety of animals. But let me go ahead and switch over to our view there, and we'll just take a look at the board up close. Now, throughout the course of the game, you'll be gathering pieces from the main board, from the river, and you'll be adding them here to your grid in a particular order. So I'm not gonna explain everything just yet. I'm instead going to give myself a few pieces just to explain the placement, because this is the most important part. So I like to start with how this works. There are a few different glass pieces here. You can see there's different shape and different colors. Sometimes they're similar shapes, sometimes they're similar colors. But for the most part, this is your resource you'll be working with. And if you look here for the glass rarity section down here, it tells you a rarity where the white and the purple are more common, and the yellow and the orange are more rare. So I'm just gonna basically take these pieces here that I just drew from the bag randomly, and this is not normally how you would gather pieces, but I just want to show scoring first. And I'm gonna place these pieces here according to, just kind of randomly place them. So once you place a piece and establish a column, then you must put all matching colors in that same column. And oh wow, okay, sorry, I'm just literally just doing this at random. And once we get the pieces here on the board, I'll explain more about how the scoring and everything works. Okay, so this goes here. And finally this one, okay. So let's say that this is my in-game state. Let's just hypothetically say that I ended up here. I'm not going to explain how I ended up here. Let's just say I did. What we have here is we'll have something that we'll score, and we'll score points based on a few criteria. Criteria 1 is your rows that you have. You'll score points for those. Criteria 2 is you'll score points based on your 2 tallest columns. And then criteria 3 is that you'll lose points for each overflow. As in, if I were to have 2 more white pieces here, then I would have some pieces in overflow. Wow, really? Okay, there we go. Jeez. So if I were to have this piece and I were to add another piece, this one would go into overflow, and they'll be worth negative points, so it's not great. So looking at this board state here from a random situation, trying to see what my final score would be. My final score in this case would be 22 points for this row, 0 points for this one, 0 points for this one, 0 points for this one, because it's from left to right, most contiguous. If I had another orange piece here, then I would have 22 points for this first row, and then I would have 4 points for the second row, because it goes all the way up to here before it has a cutoff, but I didn't, so I don't. So 22 points for that, and then I will score my 2 tallest rows. So in this case, we have this as one of my taller rows, and these 2 are tied. In the event of a tie, you will score your leftmost, which will be this one. So in this case, I would score, 8 plus 9, so I'll score 17 points. So 17 plus 22, that's gonna give me 39 points, and that's my final score, 39 points. So that's how scoring works, and it's important to know that, because you will need to know what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it as you are trying to do the things. So going back to our big overview here, just to kind of show a brief mock setup to explain the rest of the mechanics here. You will have your lake here, your main lake board, and then you also have these river tiles that will go down like so, and these are all just randomized and placed down there. And you'll build a board like this. This is a central board that everybody will be picking their stuff from. Now, you'll seed the board initially by placing 5 pieces here, and these 5 pieces are going to be for a different action that I'll explain later. And then you're also going to do the initial placement by looking at the stone that's in the river piece, in the river tile, and place that many stones there randomly from the bag. So just putting this handful of tiles that I have here randomly there. All right, and there we go. And now we've done that, and then we look at everybody's bag. Everybody's gonna have their own bag. So in this case, I got a little 2-player game set up here. And we're going to fill their bag with 3 pieces to start. A piece. There you go, 3 for you. And then 3 for me. And oops, there we go. Oh, actually, sorry, I am Hoppington. That's backwards. Sorry, it doesn't matter, but it matters to me. There we go, we can just barely see that, right? That works. And then everybody's gonna also have a glass cutter that they're gonna put on the side, and this is gonna keep track of how many glass pieces that you have. The game will end once somebody reaches 17. When that happens, 17 pieces in their board. Once that happens, then everybody will play one more, you'll finish the round, and then you'll play one more round, and then the game is over. So, this little bear marks who goes first. So look at me, I'm going first. So on my turn, what I will do is I will either be doing one of 2 things. Those 2 things are to either take a piece from my bag, put it into the river, and then take pieces from the river, or I can gather pieces from the lake. Those are my 2 actions. Either take a piece from my board, place it here, and gather pieces from the river, or gather from the lake. Pull from the lake. Now, I'm gonna explain this action first here with these 2. I'm just gonna play a mock game, so I'm gonna play through a few actions so you can kind of see how things go. So essentially, I'm gonna just play it out. So let's say I want to do this piece. So when I select a piece, we'll look at the shape, and each of these river beds has a shape that's associated with it. So you see this one is the pentagon. So if I take this piece for pentagon and I put it there, then I'm going to be choosing from the spot that is either to the left or to the right of the spot where I'm putting my piece. So I'm putting the pentagon here, but I'm not taking this piece. I'm taking either these pieces or these pieces or this piece. So let's say I want to take these pieces here, and I'll do so. And once I take those pieces, I'm going to put those to this, I'm not going to put this aside. I'm going to put this on my board. And if you look at the board here, the board will have your layouts. Like I said before, I want to put my more rare stuff to the left because it just makes more sense. And I'll put my less rare stuff here to the far side because I'll get more points if I go further out and build tall as opposed to building tall here on the left side. And then we will take this river tile, we'll move it here to the back, and then scooch everything forward. And boom, we're almost done. Now we will refill this tile, and in order to refill this tile, we'll look at where the river tile is pointing to, not the one that's on it, but the one that's pointing to, and draw that many tiles and place it. And that is the end of Hoppington's turn. Now we're gonna go back over here. It's this person's turn. Now on my turn, I mentioned before that we can either take pieces from the river or take pieces from the lake. So in this particular case, I'm gonna have otter? Otto? I think it's an otter. I'm gonna have the otter. I'm gonna have Otto the otter is going to take a piece. Now, I mentioned before that I can just take a piece and I can place it there, and then I can take either to the left or to the right. If you have 2 of the same shape, not color, but 2 of the same shape, you can play both of those at the same time to count as a wild, meaning that I get to ignore what the specific shapes are here and then choose which one that I take. There's no real true good reason for me to do it outside the fact that maybe I just want those pieces, so I'm just gonna do it. So I'm gonna put these 2 pieces here, like that, to say that I'm playing a heart, and then I'm gonna take this section here. I'm gonna place them like so. There we go. And then we're gonna take this, slide things down, and we're gonna be placing 2 pieces there. So we'll do so. Piece 1, ooh, oh no, sorry, I made a mess. Piece 1 and piece 2. There we go. Oh, also, sorry, don't forget to move your counter. I always forget to move my counter. Hopefully you will not forget to move your counter because you're not me. All right, and that's it. So now Otto has gone, the otter has gone. Now we're back over to the froggos, and we're gonna take our turn. So now we can just basically do the same thing. And I'm gonna take this circle, actually, yeah, I'm gonna take this piece and put it there, and then take these, because then I can do that, like so, yeah. And we put some new pieces down. And as you can see, the game flows pretty well. Kind of just keeps going to ebb and flow. We're here at 4 pieces now. Now we're back over here to the otter. and the outer is going to take the other action. So the other action I mentioned before is that you can take pieces from the river. Now, when you take, or from the lake, when you take pieces from the lake, they will go in your bag, not in your board, but in your bag. These pieces will, in the future, be able to be gathered into your board, and I'll explain that a little bit more later. But for right now, we're going to take pieces. When you take pieces from here, you always take exactly 4 pieces. Exactly 4 pieces. So we're going to choose 4 pieces from here. Let's say we want to do this one and this one, and we want these 2. Yeah, there you go. That looks good. We're going to add those to our bag, and that's it. And then we're going to refill here in the lake. And we keep going. Now it's the other person's turn. Hopkinton is not feeling too great about what's out here. Actually, take it back. Hopkinton is liking what's out here. So Hopkinton's going to go ahead and put this piece there. And then take these 2. There we go. Put this piece back there. We get 2 pieces there. Now we're back over to the otter. And the otter is going to try to get this one. That's a nice juicy stack there. And this one's also really nice too. But you know what? Ottos knows that they're going to be able to get both. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. Take these, right? Just going to do that. Then this is going to move to the back. And the reason why I said the otter knew that they were going to be able to take both is because on Hopkinton's next turn, Hopkinton's bag is empty. So Hopkinton must take pieces from the lake. So we're going to take 4 from the lake. Let's see, we want this one, this one, this one, and sure. And if you'll notice that that the otter, they played one of their pieces into here. This is what I meant before, that pieces that you take from here will eventually be able to be taken by yourself later on. This is getting a little bit into the weeds of the strategy side of things, which might be a little bit beyond what people really care about, but, oh, geez, did it again, making a mess. But that's essentially what we're gonna do here. Now that the frog has taken their turn, we're gonna go back to the otter, and the otter is gonna try to take those pieces. So we're gonna place this here, and we're gonna take all these pieces, all these glorious pieces here. We're gonna place them on our board. Let's see, I'm gonna do this, that, these 2, and then make sure we count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like so. And then we're at 6. And then the game just kind of keeps going over and over and over until the game is over, until we get to the in-game state, where at the in-game, once somebody hits or breaks 17, then what happens is we will finish out the round. So if Hopkinton did that first, then they will break 17. We'll pause before we do, or once we do that, and we'll check everybody's bag. If anybody has less than 3 pieces in their bag, then they will be automatically refilled from the main bag into the bag to get up to 3. And then we finish out the round, and then we play one more round, and then the game is over. And then we see who has a higher score from there. All right, okay. Sorry, I went a little bit long on the explanation, but it's mostly because I think it's a pretty straightforward game, and it's pretty fun and easy to teach. So there we go. So let's go ahead and get into the review of things. So as far as what I like and what I don't like about the game, I'm a huge fan of the simplicity of the game. I'm also a huge fan of kind of the amount of strategy that the game invites without being, too mechanical. I don't know the best way to say that, but essentially there's a whole lot of crunch that you can get from this game despite the simplicity of it. Like, it's very simple that you're putting a piece and then you're taking some pieces, but the reality is that you're really trying to think of, okay, in the future, I know I really want to build more oranges and I have an orange here. So how can I get this orange on my board and that orange on my board to try to build this one up? And where do I place my pieces to try, like, maybe you want to go the strategy of building a bunch of rows. I mean, you only have but so much time. And to be honest, if you finish one row, that's already taken away 7 slots that you have. So by the time you build your second row, that's 14 pieces. So it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to build 3 full rows. But it's 22 points though. So, I mean, 66 points is a lot of points if you can manage to get that. So if you're being very aggressive, you could probably get that. But the main concept of the situation, or the main draw of the strategy in this game, is that you're essentially trying to manipulate the board to be favorable for you. You have the option to be able to spend 2 pieces to take any stack that you want, essentially. But when you do that, you're giving your opponent the ability to take these 2 pieces. So especially in a 2-player game where you can easily look at your opponent's board and see what they need or what they might want, it might not be a good idea to play these 2 pieces here because I really want this stack here as the frog, when I know the otter really wants to build up their white pieces out here. So I just gave them 2 pieces if they can take it. So it gives a lot of like stress and a lot of crisis. I guess crisis is the wrong word, but a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Tension. It adds tension back into the game just by simply showing you that you could do this thing that will give you something that you want, but you're giving your opponent these things. And that I think is really nice, that this game does that in such simple mechanics, in such a simple way, such a straightforward way. And there's also a solo mechanic to this. It's another thing I like. And the solo mechanic is on the back of every single player's board. And I'll bring this up here on the bigger screen. But on the back of every single player's board, there's essentially a different solo opponent that you can play. So Otto being the simplest, the next simplest being Mr. Hoppington over here, being the second simplest. And then you got Sheila is next. And then you got Rosie's next. And then finally Cornelius. But what you'll see is that there's different text here and a different board shape. And this text will tell you how they gather pieces, how they score, how they put pieces down, if they have any special rules. Again, Otto down here is the simplest. That's why I kept calling the otter Otto. But they kind of fill in the board, and the overflow that they have for finishing columns goes here, and that's their positive points. Whereas from the Hoppingtons, or sorry, Spring and Skip, they'll essentially get the points from their first 4 columns. So if they overflow from their first 4 columns, we'll give them stuff. And then this essentially will let them kind of put more pieces or skip forward more. And it essentially gives them the ability to kind of speed up with how many they gain and when they gain them. And like I said, you have like basically 5 different puzzles here that you can play against. And the puzzle is very varied, given the fact that the river is as random as it is. And you can also play up to 5 players, which I think is pretty nice. And you can also add in the black pieces if you really want to, at a lower than 5-player count, if you want to make it a little bit more perilous, a little bit more hard for people to kind of get exactly what they need. And it's just a nice, good feeling game. I like the artwork, I like the flow of it. There's a lot of things I like about this game. As far as things that I don't like about the game, I do not like the fact that for some reason when I teach this game for the first time, every single time, it always ends up with some rule that people either didn't fully understand, so they kind of missed out on scoring situations, or there's just general confusion about how things work. So I've seen it a number of times where after teaching the game and after trying to emphasize, so maybe it's the way that I'm teaching, I don't know, but after trying to emphasize that, hey, when you take a piece and you place it in the river, you gain the pieces here and you add them over here. And then when I play with somebody, the first thing that they do, I almost want to say it never fails, but the first thing they do is they do this, and they grab those pieces and they put them in there. It's like, no, wrong river. You gotta gain left or right. Or my favorite was I had a friend who said, okay, I'm gonna put it here and take all 5 of these. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. That one doesn't count. You don't take from there. So you just have to be very careful how you teach the rules. But it's not that the rules are complicated. It's just that the game feels like, I don't know, it feels like there might be a rule or 2 more than the simplicity from teaching might warrant. I don't know. It's kind of a half complaint, half not complaint, because on the one hand, the simplicity in rules is actually not that simple, it's complex, and I like that. But on the other hand, it kind of makes teaching a little annoying and tedious. Thankfully, the games don't last too long. So that means that even if somebody does have a horrible game because there was a rule misunderstanding, a rule miscommunication here from my end to them, there is a situation to where we can just, put everything back in the bag, start a new game, and then get going with the corrected understanding. And that seems to be pretty good. I will also say that from a scoring perspective, I've seen games to where somebody just builds nothing but rows. So they got two completed rows, and they got like a partial row here, and they just ended up winning the game because they have so many points. And I've also seen games where somebody just got these 2 columns all the way to the top. I mean, that's 65 points. That's pretty good if you can get that. And they just blew the game out of the water. So it seems like there's not a true consensus from my understanding on which strategy is better. I feel like it's easier to get 2 rows for 44 points than it is to get 2 finished columns on the end for 65 points. So it makes sense that this is worth more points going here than going there. But that's just one of those things. It's better if you can kind of diversify, you know, finish a row and then get yourself 2 nice scoring columns. So that's 22 points plus, you know, whatever you get on those other ones. And I've seen games more so go that way. And actually, I can look at my my playthroughs here. Let's see. My playthroughs of River Valley Glasswork. I've played this game a total of, well, I've logged plays of this game 17 times, but I definitely played more than 17 times for sure. And if I look at all my scoring here, it looks like the average winning score is 72 points and the minimum winning score is 49. So pretty small sample size overall, for sure. But, wow, the lowest score is 19, which sounds familiar. The maximum loss score is 79, wow. Somebody got 96 points. Sorry, I'm just looking at my stats here in the board game app. But essentially, it's a game that flows well. Also, this is a very easy game to teach people. I know I just got done complaining a lot about how it seems like there's a rule confusion almost always, every single time when I teach. Again, it could be my teaching style. It could be how I approach teaching. I'm willing to take that hit. I'm willing to take that skill issue complaint on my own end. But I do think that this game is very simple, straightforward, yet it has a lot of variety and strategy, to the point to where I don't mind playing this game with some of my friends who don't play as many, you know, complex games or involved games as I might do. Or I also don't mind breaking this game out when, you know, you have the end of the game night, you want to finish something out, play something really quick to finish things up. I feel like this is my go-to, even when I play at the max player count of 5 players, which I never do. 4 players is the most I ever play this game with. But even when we play with 4 players, it might take like maybe 45 minutes to finish a game instead of 30. And it's not that big of a jump. So again, I know I was talking about the cons, some things that are bad about the rules kind of being a little bit not as clear initially. But the simplicity of the game just kind of always rings through, even when I talk about the pros or the cons. Another con that I think is important is that this rules page is like they give you a rules pamphlet. And I don't know if all play is still kind of in the habit of doing this. I hope they're not. Used to be called board game tables, but now they're all play. But one of the things that is frustrating is that the rules pamphlet is always missing something specific. Like, it's like, where's the rest of the rules? Like, you just add another page, use a staple, use some glue, make it a trifold, you know? And there's another sheet here for the solo. But it's a little bit frustrating that sometimes the rules, like you have a rule specific question that comes up or a scenario that comes up every once in a while, it's like, what happens next? And, you know, I had to check on the Board Game Geek forums to try to figure out a clarification for things like, what if on Otto's other side, whenever Otto hits one of these hourglasses, then Otto will essentially skip a turn. So what if Otto hits both at the same time? Does he skip 2 turns? The answer is yes. But it's just a little frustrating that it's not really clarified here in the rule sheet. And I just want to clarify, Otto is a simpler opponent to go against. So I can only imagine the number of questions I'm going to have when I get to some of the more complex automatons to fight against, or sorry, to go up against. So, and a little bit too cutting too many corners, I guess. The box doesn't really have much going on inside of it. It just has these pieces in a little bag. So you can probably take this game and, you know, just go about anywhere. Put in one of those like photo containers that sometimes people store their board games in and walk around with it and you'll be fine. But ultimately, I think the simplicity is one of the bigger pros for the game, despite the fact that I just used some simplicity cons just now. I just wanted to kind of express that I enjoy this game a lot. If I had to give it a score, I think I would end up giving it maybe a solid 7. Let me check my Pub Meeple, because I did do a ranking of all the board games, and I'm pretty sure this one got into my top 50 for sure. Because River Valley Glassworks for me is just a nice game that I end up playing a lot with my friends, especially when we live stream. Oh, why is that not working? Oh, I see. I know why. Ha. There we go. Ooh. What? There we go. All right, I got logged in. Sorry, I forgot my password for a second. So let me close this out and go back, and my final ranking for River Valley Glassworks was 17. So out of the 442 games that I ranked out of my board game collection, some of those included some expansions, and not including all my collection because some games I haven't played, so I took them out of the list. I think if I put everything, I'll be at around 540, maybe 600 at the highest. But yeah, River Valley Glassworks out of 442 games got number 17 on my personal ranking list. So I do see this game in pretty high light. I rank this game right above. Wow, really? Number 18 on my list, now I'm looking at it, is Terraforming Mars Prelude. And Terraforming Mars itself is somewhere lower on the list. Not too much lower, it's definitely in the top 50, but I do see this game in a pretty high light. I do think that this is a really great game, and I do have I usually have a really good time when I play it. I think it's only been maybe one time where I played this game with somebody, with a family member, and it bounced off of them, as in they were like, I didn't like that a lot. It wasn't fun. There wasn't anything to do, or it was boring. And I think I've only got that complaint once. But you know, you can kind of take it with a grain of salt. You know, it won't be everybody's flavor. A little bit too woodland creaturey for some people, but for me, I do enjoy the balance that it strikes of basically being a simple game, straightforward game to teach, maybe not the simplest to teach, but straightforward enough, and also has a solo mode that has a lot of variety in the puzzles that I quite enjoy. So yeah, that's it. So that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, if this is a game that kind of goes up your alley. They also have a deluxe edition for this game, which has like actual like acrylic glass pieces, not glass, but they're acrylic pieces that you use instead of these little cardboard boards. So you have like the pieces on like a little clear acrylic, and that's pretty neat. But I like this version. This version feels pretty nice. It flows really well, and I just love the mechanic of take these pieces, place them on your board, and then you like lift up the whole thing and then slide. Like it just works so well. I just love that work. I just love how that works. All right, enough of me rambling and ranting about all the things along. Thank you all very much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you all whenever.